Why do we judge others? We judge others because we judge ourselves. Most of you probably already know that. We judge ourselves, so a rain projects it on other people, and we judge others. Judgment is us obviously also not accepting ourselves, so we are incapable of accepting other people the way they are. But what happens when you have this tendency of judging other people, more like gossiping, or even like you're very interested in celebrity gossiping because there's some relief, like you notice that there's something that feels good about like knowing how bad someone's doing, how someone got canceled, how someone has drama, how someone has a bad reputation, whatever. I'll tell you exactly why. That's because it's your way of coping with the judgment that you have about yourself, with the judgment or like you not accepting yourself. That's your way of coping with it. How or why? Because for a second, all the negative attention and all the judgment goes to another objective. It no longer goes to yourself, but it goes to someone else. And that's how your brain is coping with the judgment that you give to yourself. Imagine you have all this negative attention, and you might feel it from others. You might feel like other people don't accept you, other people judge you because we attract what we are, right? So when we see that someone else is doing bad, like a celebrity, I don't know, they got canceled for something, or a workmate, I don't know, they're slacking, they're not doing good, and it feels good to know about it, or you have this tendency to gossip about it, judge them. It's your way of coping, taking this judgment about yourself, and now you're judging someone else, and it's like a relief. It's like, oh, you take a break from all this judgment, constantly judging myself, not being able to accept myself. For a split of a second, you put all that towards someone else, and it's like a break. So if you see, it's your way of coping with it, your way of taking a break from all that. So how do you heal it? Obviously, first of all, you become aware of why. And you see, this is my explanation. Maybe there's more reasons, maybe there's even a completely different reason. Just become aware of, why am I doing this? Why do I want to judge others? Why do I have this like need to gossip? Once you become aware of why, also stop the behavior and face how uncomfortable it might feel, because you have this need of gossiping, you have this need of judging for a reason, and most likely it's because you want to take a break, you want to put all that judgment to someone else so you don't have it. So for a second you stop judging yourself because someone else is doing worse, because someone else is doing bad, so you can judge them and not yourself. It's like a relief. You stop the behavior because obviously it's not helping you, and once you stop the behavior, obviously all those coping mechanisms that we use, we're trying to fulfill a need that we don't have, and obviously it's not helping us. It's never gonna fulfill it. But once we become aware of it and then we stop the behavior, we can identify the need that we're trying to meet with gossiping or with judging. And obviously in this case, it's that you want the judgment to go away. You want to accept yourself. You want to feel non-judged. And the only way that you can feel non-judged is to stop judging yourself. But that's, even if you want to take a step forward, obviously to stop judging yourself, you're also going to need to accept yourself, because that's like the opposite. That's the need you're trying to fulfill with the gossiping and the judging. And yeah, I know it's like very complicated, and it goes somewhere like, what does that have to do with the other thing? But that's really the need that you're trying to fulfill. You're trying, well, no, you're not trying, but like you're trying to put all that judgment away because you cannot accept yourself. So yeah, you can take that judgment away without having to put it onto someone else, without having to direct all that judgment or even self-hate or like all those things to someone else. You don't have to do that. You can take it away yourself and accept yourself And you're gonna realize that the more you accept yourself, the less you're gonna have a need to judge others, because it's only a projection. And gossiping, all that, it's a projection. Insecurities, it's a projection of not accepting yourself, it's a projection of low self-esteem. Most of the times this can come from, family issues, or even from school. You had to face some sort of judgment, or even being bullied, or being criticized. When it's a really bad thing, it's usually from you probably lived in an environment, a family environment, where you were compared to others, when you were compared to your siblings, to your cousins. And this happens a lot in Hispanic families, where, oh, your sibling is in the military, oh, your cousin is doing better at school, your cousin already has a job, they have a car, what do you have? And especially between siblings, where parents make like a competition between them, which is obviously very, very damaging for their relationship. And the siblings might not want to compete, but obviously they're getting all this pressure from their parents, and it's so hard to fulfill what your parents are asking from you, because they're not really asking you for a certain specific thing. They're just looking to compare you. They're just looking for you to do better than your sibling. And most of the times what happens is that your brain develops this need for others to be doing worse than you, for others to be slacking, for others to not do as good as you're doing. It's not even that you want to do good. You just really want to make sure that someone else is not doing better than you, because your brain got used to that competition mindset. And you might not know or might not notice, but you might have carried this to your, obviously, like your adult life. Maybe at your workplace, you're really hoping other people don't do better than you, because it's that fear of it's not about you doing good, that your parents didn't care about you doing good. They care about you doing better than your sibling. Otherwise you will get all this negative feedback. It's either way, it's healed the same way. But I'm just putting this, the situation out there, because when this happens, then the gossiping and the judgment, it's an even stronger need, because that is abuse, that is psychological abuse. I mean, it's bad and it shouldn't happen, but some parents, some families do that. And like I said, I've seen this especially in Hispanic families, where obviously paternal figures are not clear about what they want from you. They just ask, you're never enough, but they never give you like the standards they're looking for you. You're always just seem to be doing bad. And when they create this competition situations, then it's even worse, because you're not just like trying to run away from negative feedback, but you learned that you have to make sure that someone else gets the negative feedback so you don't, and that's the only way you can keep your parents happy, and for them to not attack you with all this criticism and all this judgment. So this might not be your case. It might be. Either way, that's the way you judge. I mean, sorry. That's the way you heal judgment and gossiping. Just become aware of why you do it. Why do you feel so drawn towards those behaviors which are not healthy and are not good? Obviously, they don't come from a good place. There's not a single person that has good intentions that is gonna be judging others and gossiping. Why? Because why will your reaction to someone doing bad or being in a bad situation to judge them? Why will your reaction be, oh, I hope they're doing better? If they're slacking at work, I hope they do better so they keep their job and they're happy. If they don't seem to be doing anything with their lives, well, I hope they find something to do with their lives, that way they're happy. or if, I don't know, their behavior, the way they dress, whatever it is, oh, I hope just that they're happy. Really, judgment doesn't, a person with good intentions, a person with good heart doesn't judge, because their first reaction to someone's lacking or doing bad in life is gonna be, I hope they do better, that way they're happy. So you, number one, you become aware of it. You become aware of, why do I have this need of judging and gossiping? And you're probably like gonna relate to what I said earlier, or maybe you're gonna find other reasons, or your reasons are gonna be different. So you become aware of it and you stop the behavior. This is gonna help you to well, you're gonna have to face the uncomfortable feelings, because obviously you had a coping mechanism and you're gonna leave it. You're gonna stop the behavior, and then you're gonna fulfill the need that you were trying to fulfill with this coping mechanism, which in this case, you just wanted the judgment away. So you fulfill that need. Just stop judging yourself. That's really what you want. That's the need you're trying to fulfill. That's all you want. You just want to stop feeling judged. And you're not gonna be able to, I mean, if someone else judges you, you're not gonna be able to change that. So also what you're gonna have to do is to prioritize your opinion, your acceptance. If just to rewire your brain to prioritize your opinion. If I accept myself, it doesn't matter who doesn't accept me. You are gonna have to embrace that mindset. It might feel fake it until you make it, because that's the way the brain gets programmed. It is really gonna work. You might feel like, oh, this is not working. It's gonna work eventually. The more acceptance you give to yourself, the more encouragement you give to yourself, it's just gonna become a habit. So what you're gonna have to do is fulfill the need you were trying to fulfill, which in this case was to stop judging yourself, and obviously to accept yourself. That's the way that's what you needed. You really wanted to take all this judgment away from you, and that's what you're gonna do. You're gonna fulfill that need, and then you're gonna accept yourself, because that's another way you're gonna fulfill that need, because the opposite of judgment, it's acceptance, and really that's all you want. And you're gonna realize that once you go through these 3 steps, you're barely even gonna feel any need to judge someone. Even like if you see that they're like, oh, they're deep down in drugs, or like something bad, and I don't know about life, you're not gonna feel the need to judge them. You're gonna feel compassion for them, and you're gonna wish them good. Like, which is very different to people that are not in that mindset. Like, when you have a good heart, that's what you want. Well, not exactly when you have a good heart, but when you don't judge yourself, you don't judge others, you feel compassion. That's the natural response to seeing someone doing bad. It shouldn't be to judge them. Like, how are you helping someone judging them? What is it helping? What's the help you're putting out there? Or how are you changing the world by judging someone? You're really not. So most people's reaction to seeing someone, for instance, that they're drug addicts, is to judge them. But how are you helping anyone? How are you helping the world? So you just see this person and you feel the need to judge them. You're not helping, you're not doing anything. You might as well ignore it. But a more natural response, which might not be very common, but the natural response of a human being is to try to help them, or to at least feel compassion for them. And it's not your job to help them, but an even more natural response is just to wish them well, to just be like, oh, I hope they're able to overcome it. I hope they're able to get out of that place, because I'm sure it's not helping them. So you see, there's a lot of difference between those 2 reactions. To be like, oh, gross, they're disgusting, they're horrible, they got themselves there, they're not as good as they should be, they're not doing what they should be, whatever judgment you want to put on drug addicts, because I don't know, because I don't judge them. Because if you really know about drug addiction, you will know that it comes from deep-rooted trauma, and it's horrible, and it's a place you should be happy not to be at. instead of judging them. Because if you were in their place, you will understand. You wouldn't judge them. You should be thankful instead that you didn't get all the trauma in their life and the life that took them to that horrible place. Anyways, I really wouldn't know what people judge about drug addicts, but that's a different reaction from seeing a drug addict and being like, I hope they're able to overcome it. I hope whatever's keeping them there, like, no longer holds them back. I hope that whatever took them there is not in their lives anymore, and I hope they're doing better. I hope that they get to be happy and get rid of all that, because it's not good for them. Two very different reactions. Which one do you think is more natural? Obviously this one, to feel compassion, to wish them well, because you have no business judging anyone, because judgment has no purpose but to help yourself, but to feel better about yourself, but to put yourself here and look down on others like, oh, I'm better than them because I'm not there. No, you're not better than them. You should be thankful that you're not there instead of feeling that you're better than them. You should be thankful you had all the things that they didn't have that took them there. And it applies not only for drug addicts, it applies for everything else. You're not better than them. You shouldn't be looking down on them. So like, oh, if I was in their place, I wouldn't do that. No, if you were in their place, you will have known what hell is. And you will have known what it was like to go through that and how hard it crushed them. And you will understand then why they were in the place they were. Instead of judging people, you should be thankful that you didn't have the life that they had, that crushed them so bad, that took them to the place they were. But obviously, you get to choose. What do you want to be? You want to be a compassionate person, an actual useful person, because yeah, you don't have to help them. Because I know that when someone's hurt, they might bring you down to their hell. Some people accept the help, some people won't, but because they're hurt and they don't know how to accept the love. You don't have to help them, but isn't it better to just have compassion and wish them well? That's a more useful thing than to judge them. Because the only purpose that judgment has is to feel better about yourself, to feel so cool, to look down on others. It just helps you fulfill this fantasy of being so great and being above others. You decide what you want to be, because a lot of people might not notice, but when you judge, a lot of times what happens, you end up in that situation, because that's the universe's way to take away that judgment from you. So you don't want to have to go through that. And a lot of times it won't happen, but why risk it? Or why even be here? You don't want to be this. Not my hand, but you don't want to be that. So anyways, that's the way you heal it. So what are you gonna do about it? The more you accept yourself, the more you stop judging yourself. You're barely gonna feel any need to judge others, and that's when you're gonna realize that people that judge others, they just don't like themselves. And it's not a natural response to gossip. Judging others, gossiping, it's not a natural response. It's not useful. Have you ever thought about that? Like, how is it useful? It's not useful. A natural human response to someone not doing as good as you think they should be doing, it's to have compassion and to wish them well, to hope they do better so they're happy, so they're in a better place. That's a natural response. Judgment is not really a natural response unless you judge yourself. And it's more helpful, like I said. Anyways, that's it.